Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Skylar.
And filling in for Avery, this is Saturn.
And today we are discussing Series 4, Episode 1, Partners in Crime, by our boy, Russell T. Davies. This is the long-awaited return of Donna Noble to the companion spot. And really kicks off this season with a bang. Well, okay, technically Voyage of the Dam was a Christmas special, so I don't really count it, but like that kicked it off well too, but this really keeps the ball rolling, I think. In general, I think like RTD is like really good at making these like 45-minute like kind of fluffy but super like good to just like open up the season episodes, because you have this, you have Smith and Jones, and you have Rose. New Earth doesn't count. But yeah, no, I this is a very solid, like, again, like, just think, like, I was watching through this and like I've seen this episode a lot, so like it didn't quite have the pop as like some of the like forgotten gems of like stuff that I like, oh man, I forgot how like good this was, like, but like the entire first section, which is so meticulously shot to show Ten and Donna investigating the same place and literally consistently missing each other by seconds. It's like Edgar Wright level, like, masterfully shot visual comedy.
Yeah, it definitely had that like super British comedy feel to it. Just the like the absolute back and forth. I think in particular the part with the cubicles where they're bouncing up and down, just missing each other as they're going through the exact same like process of investigation. It's like a good thing because it's like, on the one hand, it's sort of like it shows how they're sort of coming from the same mentality in the same place, but also it's just
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah, like there's levels of initiative of like Martha's initiative was, once in a bad situation, being hyper competent at getting out of situation. Donna is such initiative of literally figuring out, yeah, this is where the shady alien shit is, and being right entirely by herself with none of the high-tech gadgetry or anything. She's just like, yeah, I have a hunch, and it worked.
It's another case of Rose being a shit companion.
Take a drink. Yeah.
Again,
on
I
paper,
feel
this
like
episode.
I feel like the only reason why Rose is such a shit companion is because she's superseded by basically everyone after her in terms of like competence.
Yeah.
Especially, and also, to be fair, like there's definitely a sense, which I mean makes sense because they've continued to work with each other outside Doctor Who on so many things, but like a real sense that like Catherine Tate and David Tennant, or like Donna and the Doctor, are equals, or as close to equals as a 900-year-old immortal being and like a 30-year-old temp from Chiswick can get.
Yeah, their chemistry is really good, and honestly, that's what a lot of what elevates this episode that could seem like pretty bland or paint by numbers on paper is elevated by their chemistry, and also the fact that Russell T Davies can take like a script like this and insert based commentary even when you would think like
based
otherwise
RTD.
This would be filler almost, except for the introduction of Donna, but it's like super not, which is pretty cool.
No, really, like, now that I think about it, it really feels like the company with the cursed name that I'm not going to say from Spyfall was trying to pull a based RTD, but not being anywhere near as interesting.
Yeah, it's very much like neoliberal attempts to like kind of subvert capitalism, but just it's really not. compared to just absolutely this entire industry is built on lies. I mean, basically, this whole episode is basically just a very unsubtle commentary on the diet industry and stuff.
And big pharma.
Yeah, in general. Um,
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
Going back to the
journalism.
thing you said about like Catherine Tate and Tennant, just definitely, coming off of you have Rose where like he's like into her, but like she's definitely not equal to him, and then you have Martha who's like definitely capable, but like there's just too much emotional shit going on for it to like really be an
yeah.
equal partnership. And then, like you said, you have Donna who just does not care. Like, he says at the end, "I just want a mate," and there we'll get to that, but it just sort of shows
Yeah.
the mentality he's coming from. He wants an equal. He wants just a friend who he can be with.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the benefit of companions like Donna's age and up, and like here I'm gonna give a compliment to the Chibnall era. Watch out, but Graham even I think has shades of this,
Yeah.
where it's like as a more experienced person, like once you get over the shock of like, oh, there's aliens, oh, there's time travel, you're gonna have a lot more life experience and confidence potentially to pull from. So even though we bag on Rose a lot, it's like it would be weird if a 19-year-old, which I think in canon is how old Rose is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yep.
Is like it makes sense that she like by the end of her tenure she's only like gotten a little bit better at that, whereas like Donna's
Yeah.
starting out like infiltrating the capitalist
Yeah.
superstructure.
Yeah. Or like just in general the fact of like if not equal there being less baggage. Like for example, like I wouldn't necessarily call like Bill and 12 on equal footing because there's a like a student professor thing dynamic going on there, but there isn't any baggage.
Word.
So yeah, they both sneak into the building claiming that they're health and safety in completely different places. They watch the film, the press conference for this Adipose Industries that's selling a diet pill.
I can't be the only one that thinks it's weird that they named the company after the species and somehow he doesn't think about that.
I don't know. Maybe he's got the thing of like
It could just be a common name, because I think
Yeah.
adipose cells.
Yeah,
are like
adipose
an
is the
actual
name
cell.
of a fat, but also like
Yeah.
it could also be like like he thought of it but was like, no, that's too obvious.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just something I thought of at the end of the episode. It's just like, wait a minute. If a company popped up called Suntaran Incorporated, he might be a little bit more
but
onto that.
Sontaran also isn't the name of an actual like molecular
Yeah.
like
I don't know. I felt nitpicky
like
today.
if like Sontaran is not the name of tissue.
You're right. Just amuses me.
Yeah. Also, side note, I know someone whose Steam profile pic was for many, many years the picture of like 10 doing like the like happy face on the side of the cubicle where he's got like his arms and is like, hey. So it's weird whenever I see that because it's like literally like, man, I've seen this picture a lot.
It's also like a general meme, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen that picture a lot too.
Yeah. So yeah, Donna gets one of these little like gold pen, which, hold on, now that I think about it, how much, like, okay, I know, like, yeah, it's run by aliens, but like, they said that for being on the thing, and I understand this is for their thing, but they say that this is like, even if it's like 18 or whatever karat gold, they're still giving out literal gold pendants to all their customers. What do they do with the customers like, hey, cool gold thing, and immediately goes down to the pawn shop and sells it for like $300?
Yeah, there's some holes in this plan.
I
like,
literally didn't think about this until now, but I was like, hang on a second.
Look, she's a
That's
nanny.
literal gold.
Like, are you telling
She's a
me that
nanny?
no one besides Donna fiddled around with it before? Like,
Yeah.
were there just no autistic customers who were like, what the fuck does this do? And just started playing with it? Like,
Oh,
I'm
it's a
sorry,
mood.
but
Oh,
as
it's
an
a mood.
autist, if you handed me that thing, I would just be like, whoa, what does this do?
Yeah.
Just jiggle it the fuck around for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it is
She's
taking like most of my concentration to not fidget with the plush Moogle hanging from my microphone stand.
Look, she's a nanny with 2 bodyguards that look like Agent 47 rejects, okay? This isn't the brain trust that we think it should be.
Yeah, she looks like a turf.
Oh god, oh my god.
Discourse.
I mean, she's a British white woman, what are you gonna do?
uh,
Yeah, but oh gosh, she looks like the PFP of someone who'd post womb in unironically on Twitter with a like just a big female symbol or something.
so yeah, both Donna and the Doctor visit people who've used the product. Donna totally accidentally kills this person. Like, when you think about it. Like, that person gruesomely and horrifyingly dies accidentally because of Donna.
Yeah. It's pretty fucking brutal.
It's so fucking wild to me that this episode deals with like fat people and weight loss and like just the whole general discourse better in like what 2008 better than a mainstream movie did like in Avengers Endgame like a year ago or so.
Yeah, they're just like you don't need that shit, man. It doesn't matter. Like it's
Wait,
not
what the
like
fuck happened in Endgame? I'm forgetting this.
Fat Thor.
Oh god. Oh.
Yeah.
Which is like
God.
I like the idea of how Thor's portrayed, and I like how Chris Hemsworth portrays Thor in that movie, but Fat Thor ain't great.
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah, it's like a joke except for one scene. So I'm glad like I mean it's just like these are people and this is something that's being like exploited about because of human nature.
Yeah.
And I even fucking
at
like
least, yeah, at least Endgame still has the scene where he gets the hammer and he's like, I'm still worthy. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the main good part.
But no, yeah, you definitely get the sense in here though, in this episode though, that like the general tone is like, A, you don't need this, B, Big Pharma sucks, and C, all of the obese no obese people in this episode are made fun of. Like, they're not jokes. They're just people.
Yeah, the death of that one woman, frankly, could have been like portrayed mostly comedically, and you kind of think it might be at the very beginning when she's like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom," but then it's like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the classic RTD. Like, could be black comedy or could just be really disturbing. Like the throwaway line of of 10 going, "No, I've met cat people. You're nothing like them." Which is really funny because I rewatched Gridlock today. So yeah. The adipose. I will say, it is nice to have technically the aliens themselves are not the bad guys. They're just kind of adorable little fat babies. Perfect for selling licensed plushies of.
Yeah, this is definitely a merch episode.
The effects aren't also too bad. Like looking
Yeah.
into it, they borrowed from some tech that like the people who did the Lord of the Rings films used to get some of those
Yeah,
wide shots.
massive.
So like it's not perfect, of course, but it's like good.
Um Meanwhile, Donna, I really like, there's another fun thing where, like, or not fun thing, but like a good thing of like the simple direction in the scene where you just see like literally like time lapse of Donna's mom moving around the kitchen and like like nagging at her while she just stares into the middle distance. Like, very
Again,
simple, very effective. It's literally a 20-second shot.
and again, I think my fellow autists will relate to that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was just like, is this what most white moms are like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um but it doesn't matter because right after that we're reintroduced to our boy Wilf. Hell yeah. So
Wilf
yeah, I
Gil.
guess
The
now's
Gil.
another thing to mention of, so originally um uh the Wilf was supposed to be like a one-off character basically. Well, he didn't even have a name when he appeared in Voyage of the Damned. He was just initially, like, I think in the script he's named like Stan. Um so what happened is during the filming of this episode, they were intending to bring back Donna's father from The Runaway Bride. Um but what happened was his actor died like very early into shooting. So they brought Bernard Cribbins back and reshot everything. And the episode is dedicated to that actor, Howard Atfield. Um, I believe on the DVD release there is the footage of that they shot for Partners of Crime with him. I haven't seen it. I will have to check it out at some point, but yeah. Um, but yeah, Wilf's great. Wilf will consistently be great. Wilf is the only royalist we support on this podcast.
True. That actor
Um,
does such a good mix of like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Just like he's instantly endearing. Um, and even though he like still challenges Donna on some things, he clearly has her best interests at heart. So it's just cool to see like that type of parental figure. Because honestly, like Jackie's supportive and Martha's family, like parts of them become supportive of her, but it's like it's a super cool change to see that like right from the word go, and that never changes, but he
yeah.
still remains awesome and interesting.
Yeah.
So like
there is a reason why my personal opinion is that Wilf single-handedly carries End of Time. Single-handedly. Um
He's just a wholesome boy. Like
yeah,
there's no
he's just a
judgment with
yeah.
him.
Yeah,
He
he's just
just
a wholesome.
he just
There's no
support.
goofs. He's just a wholesome boy. Uh, so yeah. The next day, both the Doctor and the Don and Doctor. Fuck, we have not reached the Doctor Donna yet. That's later. I can bitch about that later. We're here. We're here now. Okay. The Doctor and Donna go back to Adipose Industries and I guess just hide in the building all day. Um And it turns out there's a journalist from earlier, which Miss Foster uh, uh, basically captures and ties up. Um,
Decent red herring.
yeah. The fun thing is the character is named Penny Carter, and that was initially the idea for series 4 was that not this Penny Carter, but a character named Penny Carter was going to be the next companion, and then I think RTD just settled on calling Catherine Tate back. Yeah. Um so yeah, it was a maybe but not necessarily. Um so that's sort of the only part of that that's left. And then they both watch Penny Carter get interrogated, the doctor from a windshield washer's little elevator thing, and Donna through a porthole. And we get to this great little mimed conversation, which RTD wrote the stage directions for, like, okay, this is what I want you to express. But what Catherine Tate actually did was improvised.
Really?
Yeah.
Honestly, as someone who can't lip read for shit, like, it's so clear what's happening, and I forgot how great of a moment that is.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it's so good. So yeah, then there's a bunch of running about. There's mentions of the arcs, like bees disappearing, stuff like that. I love how she's like, the Titanic flying over Buckingham Palace on Christmas Day that one had to have been a hoax.
He.
There's this hanging scene where they're both like hanging onto a cable, and like 10 climbs in a window while Donna's still hanging there, and fucking Penny Carter, the journalist, is just standing around like, what the hell is happening?
I fucking love the line he has where it's just like, what am I gonna write about all this? It's like, I don't know, you're a journalist, make it up. And I was just like, oh, that cuts deep. Oh, that cuts deep.
Yeah, it's an RTD moment. We get the scene of so it's revealed that Miss Foster is matron Cophelia, a wet nurse, who is basically illegally using Earth as an adipose breeding ground.
What is it with all these aliens just illegally using Earth for stuff?
Doctor Who.
You think that people who would be like, oh, it's the perfect crime, would realize, like, hey, I wonder what happened to the last few poor schmucks who tried to use the planet. And I mean, Moffat does eventually kind of get into that, I guess, where it's like they start actually fearing the Doctor. Of course, they go a little bit too far with it, but you know.
I have a nitpick about this part. It's like the writing is pretty inconsistent whenever the Doctor brings up intergalactic law. Here he's just like, it's against the law to seed a level 5 galactic planet, and it's just like, well, even if it wasn't, you'd still be against it. So it's just like, I don't know why that's a thing. Like, again, it's inconsistent. I mean, I guess it sort of foreshadows how the Shadow Proclamation has a bigger role to play at the end. There's a lot of foreshadowing in this episode about the arcs and, like, character journeys in this episode, which is actually, like, pretty well done. But that was the only part where I was just like, hold on a second. Like, okay.
Yeah. 10 does his usual. Again, literally, I find it funny because it's double stupidity, because first they try to budge in on Earth, and then second, literally every time 10 is like, yo, I'll help you out. I know a place. And they're like, nah, it's fine. We got this. We're just vibing. Just let us do us, bro. It's like, okay, all right. You really, as the great poet Thomas York once wrote, you do it to yourself, and that's why it really hurts. Um, the Doctor escapes by holding his two sonic devices against each other.
I don't know why there's a sonic pen in this episode, but I kind of do like how it's like, hey, every once in a while an alien has sonic tech.
Sarah
like,
Jane has
that's
sonic
neat.
lipstick. Literally, the Doctor gave it to her.
Yeah, it's like people other than the Master, Sarah Jane, and River Song having sonic tech. It's like, did it come out of nowhere? Kind of, but like, it's cool and should be done more often.
Oh well, yeah. So they get into a storage cupboard and figure out what the plan is. In that she's basically going to start emergency parthenogenesis on the whole planet and run. Which again, she even literally like this is like the world's shittiest wet nurse because she even goes like, like going full like body dissolve is actually bad for them. Technically. No wonder she's a TERF.
I mean, she literally like just a weird mommy fantasy. Let's be honest.
And here's the weird thing.
Can you come up with a Ben Shapiro joke for that one?
I really don't want to. I burnt out my mind this morning. This is so weird to me because this could potentially be done legally. Like, you would have to do a whole fuck ton of diplomacy, but if you were just like, hey, people who are overweight, you want to lose like 15 pounds?
Literally, if she just asked or tried a different planet, it wouldn't have been a problem. It literally wouldn't have been a problem. Like, bruh.
Like, I get it's Doctor Who and we have to have conflict, but in universe, I'm just looking at this like,
well, I
you
mean,
could have saved yourself a whole lot of paperwork.
In universe, to take a paraphrase from All Star, she isn't really the sharpest tool in the shed. Like, literally, she gets busted and still expects like, yeah, the people who hired me are totally gonna bail me out. No.
Damn it,
no,
Jeff.
They're not. You're a liability.
Also, what do we think of this, again, being an alien that looks like a human? She's clearly not adipose, but it's just like...
Listen. It saves the budget. I am willing to overlook it because it saves on the budget.
And we got a bunch of turf jokes out of it, so that's cool, too.
Yeah, and, like, you don't even know... It's not even, like, necessarily a thing like last week where that's literally just how they look. It could be a Krillitane thing where she looks totally different, but has concealed herself in a humanoid form. You don't know.
I'll jive with it.
I do love how this huge, loud-ass fucking spaceship comes in and Wilf has, like, his headphones on and is just vibing and looking the complete opposite direction. That's great. Let's see here. So yeah, I also find it really funny how, like, when you think about it, Ten and Donna don't really do anything this entire episode, like, to actually fight. Like, basically the whole plot just kind of goes on anyways. Like, the only thing they do is make all the adipose then. But yeah, even Ten's like, yo, they're gonna axe you.
Yeah, it's the
You're really
classic.
right. It is like a weird like mom fantasy because she's like she even like like has like thinks that she's like more important than to these like fucking fat gremlins than she is. Like, yeah. And then they literally like Wile E. Coyote drop her. No one other than RTD would have done that.
I'm imagining her
No
just
one else would have done that.
she's being dropped from a crane, and then he's just like to Catherine Tate, now turn into him and start crying. It's just like, what's going on with this show? I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Penny's like, "You're mad and I'm going to report you for madness." It is really funny how Donna's like, you know, you see some people just can't take it, considering that Penny or like someone with the name Penny Carter was literally going to be the fucking companion for series 4. Um I find it funny that Donna is like the only one to have like come in like packed and ready.
It fits with her character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, she's the only companion who like tracked the Doctor down. So like
Yeah.
that's I mean, genuinely, has anyone else ever been able to do that before? Like, I guess kind of um Sarah Jane, but like not on purpose.
Yeah. Um and then we get into the comedy scene of misconstruing like I just want a mate. And then obviously the haha funnies from that. Na, 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 na.
The fact that it takes 10 going through two different traumas with two companions for him to finally be straightforward and be like, hey, I just want to have a good time. Like,
Yeah. Just want to
can we
fuck around
just
and
do
have a
that,
good time.
please? Like, it was refreshing, but goddamn, took you long enough.
Yeah. Um I love how Donna it is really funny how Donna's just like, all right, cool. Hey mom, I'm ditching the car keys in a fucking trash bin later.
That had
Like
some big Rose energy.
you literally couldn't have taken like the like 20 minutes to drive the car back before you dip.
It's pacing, Jeff. We gotta keep it moving.
Yeah, fair enough. And then briefly, you see Rose. Fun fact, uh, that that scene was withheld from review copies, so nobody knew that scene was going to be there, and they managed to keep it secret until air date. They did the same thing with like the scene that revealed that the Daleks were in the series 2 finale too. Um,
It's a good
and
cameo.
then yeah, and then they fly past Wilf, who has a happy little dance because he's like, yeah, Donna did it.
Is it implied that he recognizes who she's with?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else before we move on to ratings?
I'm good.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen this episode a lot. Like, it is one of the most watched episodes I've watched the most of. Like, yeah, it's impeccably paced. It's RT. It's another absolute banger of an RTD episode. Like, I feel like this is kind of a case where, like, a lot of the accolades that I could give to this, I could also give to, like, Smith and Jones. But at the same time, the episode's really solid. So yeah, I'd have to give it, like, on my new letter grade system, definitely a solid A.
An A?
Yeah. 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 No, okay. There were some comments on the server that number grades are
Oh, we're switching it
stupid,
up.
and I
Okay.
kind of agree. So, like, yeah. Fair. You know, we're this podcast isn't organized. Do whatever you want.
We're just gonna use three different rating systems.
Yeah, this was really enjoyable. This was a super enjoyable time watching it. The Am I back? Okay. Damn it. Okay. Let's try this again. Um, yeah, this was a very good time. The plot is nothing really special, but there's a lot of good narrative foreshadowing, stuff like that. That's really cool. Showcases kind of what's going to be happening, not just for the plot of the series, but for the characters, which is awesome. The chemistry between Catherine Tate and David Tennant is awesome. The introduction of Wilf proper is great in its own right. But yeah, there's just some like minor nitpicks I have and like small stuff with the plot that I'm just like, oh, you could tighten this up and it would just be like perfect. So I'm gonna give it an A as well.
Uh, all right. I think the episode's pretty solid. Like, it's definitely really well written, obviously. RTD does it again. He has some based commentary. I think it's a good introduction to Donna. She's good in this episode and shit. And the Doctor is pretty good. And, you got two different MILFs and a GILF running around. I'd say it's the makings of a pretty good, uh, this could definitely have a porn parody. I would probably watch it. Just good stuff all around. Um, I don't think it's quite all-time classic level, so I don't think I'm ready to give it a 10, but like it's up there, it's up there. Kind of like me thinking about Donna and the Doctor sort of getting it on, mating and all that stuff. I'm gonna say a 9 out of 10.
Man, you went off the chain with that one. Jesus.
I told you I have no censor.
Okay. So yeah, next week we will be discussing series 4 episode 2, The Fires of Pompeii. But until then, it's time to move on to our next segment. All right. So today we are discussing series 2, episode 2 and 3, Sleeper and To the Last Man. So yeah, I guess we'll just start with Sleeper. I definitely feel like these 3 episodes definitely still carry, like, even if they're not as good as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, they carry like the general, like, just better feeling and quality, like through, like they're keeping like it on the whole. I think that these episodes are better than pretty much all of series 1.
Agreed. There was only one character moment where I was just like, okay, why did that happen instead of what should happen? Which
Yeah.
is down from like a couple of times per episode. So
Yeah.
we're making good progress.
Yeah, exactly. I do like how Sleeper is very much framed to not be about the main cast and be about the Beth, the titular sleeper agent.
I mean, that's sort of just following what Kiss Kiss Bang Bang set up, where like the sort of quote unquote monster of the week, even though it's not really always that, is more of the focus than just the main cast itself. Because last
Yeah.
time we had Jack's buddy sort of be the focus of the episode.
Yeah,
And
no,
this time
and
we have...
I mean, it's better than like some of the episodes where it's just like, what cringy thing will a member of Torchwood 3 do this week?
Yeah.
True.
So like, yeah, yeah, Sleeper is also like, whew, like Sleeper's dark, man.
Oh yeah, this shit gets brutal.
Yeah.
Sleeper is dark and gory.
There is a body count.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like probably. I think this is the second goriest episode besides the cannibal episode.
Yeah.
I also liked how there was, you could argue like Jack is being too aggressive and like basically violating this, if it was a human, he'd certainly be violating her rights as a British citizen and as like just a person with dignity. But it's like presented in a way that doesn't feel like it's breaking character or like character assassination. You're just like, no, this makes sense. It sucks that they do this, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely get the sense with a lot of things that Jack does that like he's very like much colder and much more of a hard ass when he needs to be, but it's because he's literally had like 100 years of this shit and he's at the point where like he cannot risk it. Which, I mean, to be fair, when you see how fucking like effective and lethal the sleepers, like the sleeper agents are in this episode, like, yeah, he was bad to Beth, but like you definitely get the sense of like it needed to be dealt with. It was going to be a problem, and if he didn't deal with it, a lot of people would die.
See, but like my issue is that it basically like this episode is honestly just I still think it's a good episode, but it's very much propaganda. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, no,
like,
yeah. Like, there's,
the problem with the police is they don't have enough extrajudicial authority, and if only they could, detain citizens at will without any rights and just torture them.
If this episode was released like in a vacuum and not in like a post-War on Terror like universe, like I feel like if you separate it enough, and it's kind of the same thing with like Hot Fuzz, where like I understand what that movie is, but at the same time it's still really funny and really well like shot and acted.
Yeah. It's like the Brooklyn Nine-Nine sort of deal.
Yeah.
Or just like in a vacuum, yeah, sure, this would be a really good. It would be really good, and it is still really good. You can appreciate it for what it is, and also be like, yeah, there's some problematic messaging here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, either that or at least, yeah. I mean, at least here you definitely get the sense of like. There's definitely like this fearing of like gray morality of like Jack. They doesn't necessarily 100% treat Jack as like in the right. But yeah.
Yeah. I also like how the way that Beth decides to go out, it's like, look, I've already snapped, I've either killed or almost killed, I forget if it's boyfriend or husband, I think it's husband, and she like helps stop at least the initial like wave of the invasion, but she's like, I don't want to go out as one of those things. So it's like very clear. It's like basically text in the episode that she doesn't actually change. She doesn't lose herself. She decides to go out that way because she knew that any other way, like Gwen or someone else would stop Jack from killing her. So she's just like, fuck it. I'm doing it live.
Yeah,
I'll do it myself.
Definitely.
So that was some good shit right there.
Yeah, definitely. Um Also, I'm going to take one moment here to talk about one of my favorite scenes, which is the scene where it's Ianto, Owen, and Tosh back at the hub, and all the phones are down, and Owen's like, "Well, we have to find a way to contact them," and Tosh is like, "The phones are down," and Ianto just has like an ironic little spiel about how the phones are down, dumbass. Hello,
My
is there
personal
anyone there? No, because the phones are down.
my personal favorite exchange was like, "Well, the world's ending. Let's all have sex." And I'm just like,
And
"Owen,
Ianto is like, and I thought that today couldn't get any worse.
The okay, see what I appreciate about that Owen moment is it's like it's a very decidedly Owen moment, but at the same time it isn't like an Owen moment, you
Yeah.
know? It's not
Yeah,
him being
Owen
like
has chilled the
absolutely
fuck out,
disgusting.
finally.
It's still him being Owen-y, but not like
Yeah.
just absolutely fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Like there's
Okay,
enough.
acceptable levels of chaotic greasy gremlin.
Exactly.
Um uh so yeah, then there is To the Last Man, which I think there are other episodes that did this kind of like out of time, but like I feel like Torchwood episodes where there isn't any like identifiable villain tend to be like way higher watermarks of quality. Um where like when you think about it, the evil in this episode is how horrid soldiers with PTSD were treated in World War One, and that's like you get this totally different vibe from the episode because it's basically just talking about like we did this, we can't undo this. Like
definitely."
yeah,
It's also like one of the few examples in the Hooniverse where like the type of time travel that it is like consistent throughout the episode. It's just like he has to do
yeah,
this because he was always meant to do this, and he will go back and he will die because that's how, that goes, and humans are horrible. But it's like
yeah,
there's no paradox you can pull off here. There's no like multiple timelines where like, yeah, he's dead here, but in another one he's okay. It's just like, no, he is dead and it sucks, and we killed him even though he like saved like everyone basically.
yeah. Um Yeah. And like it's a good episode for Tosh. There's a lot of the episode is just character stuff too. And it's a similar thing to like Out of Time where like a lot of the times like when they just do like chill like character drama stuff, it's a lot more interesting.
Owen is a decent person.
Yeah. Yeah, and you also get the sense of like Owen, like he does it in his normal caustic way, but he warns Tosh because he's already gone down that road. He himself has fallen in love with someone out of their proper time. And that's a very nice callback.
Also, I may have stood up and whooped and cheered when Jack and Ianto made out. I
Yeah.
cannot confirm or deny, but
Bro,
it leaned towards confirm.
later in the season, I am pretty sure there is just straight up a scene of them fucking. I am like or getting close to there. I'm pretty sure.
Oh man, I'm gonna want to be here for that scene.
Pog. Pop in whenever you want.
Um but yeah, like yeah, there's just like the it's the thing of like the Family of Blood, where the villain was also like the horribleness of war, but it's like, yeah, the villain in this episode is the mistreatment of people who were sent to one of the most bloody and pointless conflicts in the history of the human race. It's just, yeah, it's sad.
There's also some very like pointed commentary about how this has been like weeks at months maybe at most, where he's just been like waking up every day and it's a new year, and he talks about how, you know, next day I woke up, they said it was over, and then 3 weeks later there was World War II, and now he's seeing on the TV stuff about, you know,
Iraq, yeah,
the Middle East. So it like it brings even more stuff about like he sees how it's not gonna get better, and even though his like memories are erased, which is still like kind of don't love that plot point, but it's like even seeing all that, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And you know, Tosh romance subplot aside, like that's some really good shit right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anything else on Sleeper to the Last Man before we move on to ratings?
I like the ending where she calls him the whole like, you could say this and I would do anything. Like, I didn't think that was gonna come back, or at least by the time it was at that point in the episode, I forgot that was a thing. But then it was just like, oh man, my heart. And then I died. So thanks, Torchwood.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. I think Sleeper is like an A-. Like it's perfectly functional and enjoyable. It's just like, I don't think it has quite as much of the wow factor, of like the gut punch factor that To the Last Man had.
Yeah, I would put this episode, the Sleeper. I would put Sleeper at a B plus because it's really decent and competent. There's just some like yikesy stuff with the extrajudicial nature of everything, and we didn't even touch on the racial politics, but it doesn't look great. So there's that. I do like that it ends on a cliffhanger though, and I looked up to see if that like Cell 114 comes up again, and it does come up in an audio. So hopefully, eventually, that would be a cool thing to look into. But yeah, B plus for me.
Cool.
So I'm actually gonna go against the trend here. I think Sleeper is better. I would
Fair
say
enough.
it was a more engaging episode for us. Uh, just I don't know. To the Last Man didn't hit us as hard. I'd say Sleeper is about an 8, and To the Last Man it was 7.5.
All right. Fair. So next week, we will be discussing series 2, episode 4, Meet, which, let us Reese-stans rise up, because that is a Reese-centric episode. It's time for our boy. But yeah, until then, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can support us on Patreon to get access to live recordings of the show, or early access to episodes, or bonus episodes, or even guest on the show if you want to. I'm Jeff. You can follow me at WheatleyDL.
I'm having sex with Owen. You can follow me at skyhigh9_5.
Who isn't? Who isn't, man?
Right. Okay. I'm Saturn, and like Avery, you can find me at Big Fat Penis 69 on Twitter.com.
All right. And we'll see you all next week.